Going to domestic issues, Social Security, this is one where you might give an edge to Clinton. She said in a September debate, she was asked what she would do to change Social Security. She said, I'm not going to put anything on the proverbial table until we move towards fiscal responsibility. That is actually, I think, a fair position. We, in the liberal progressive community, successfully pushed back on the notion earlier that the Social Security program was in crisis when it is not. That was a misread of the data, and we were able to stop efforts for privatizing it by making the point that the situation is not remotely as dire as people were making out to be. Obama tried to make a point of that, saying she's not being clear about what she would do. She's not addressing this as a serious problem. And I think that's arguably a political mistake on his part. But the proposal that he gives is certainly a fair one. You would lift the cap. Right now there's a cap on the Social Security benefits that get taxed. So everything up to $97,500 gets taxed, and above that, the wealthier folks get less percentage of their Social Security benefits taxed. He's saying, let's lift that cap, or we should start from the high end and go down, saying everything above, say, $200,000 would get taxed. The stuff in the middle would not. And that's a position that Clinton herself has entertained before, yet she is putting out mailers, or has, attacking Obama for $1 trillion tax increase on hardworking families, which I would say is a gross distortion of the position. So that's how I see the facts on that. On healthcare, there was a lot of discussion about that in the most recent debate and debates prior. I think there's a lot less to be concerned about here, and there are differences that meets the eye. As you might know, they have very similar plans. The one dispute they keep focusing on is the question of individual mandates. Should you be legally mandated to buy health insurance? Clinton says yes, that ensures that it'll be truly universal. Obama says no. If the plans aren't actually affordable, you might put people in a punitive situation. If you read Paul Krugman in the New York Times, he definitely sides with Clinton on this. I think it's gotten less attention is Robert Reich, who was Clinton's labor secretary, who said the fight is little more than a distraction. A mandate would matter only to a tiny portion of Americans, around 3% of the population. Said who's correct? It's hard to know. The Massachusetts experiment suggests Obama is correct. It's the only state to require it for every resident to purchase health insurance. And it goes on to say that Massachusetts is concerned they can't afford a policy, even with a subsidy similar to those in all the Democratic plans. So far, half of Massachusetts uninsured have complied with the mandate. And a mandate might not make much of a difference anyway, based on the experience of other countries. So it seems to be a minor point. They both share a key element that they would provide a public plan option, a government plan that you could choose. It would compete with private plans. It would be an employers in both plans. Some people have now overly simplified Obama's plan as voluntary. It's not voluntary for employers. They have to either provide quality insurance or chip into the public plan. And then by doing so, making sure that's properly subsidized for folks who are low income. I would say that's effectively universal in both cases, in Clinton's and Obama's. On the environment, again, they're also both similar. They both support a plan to combat global warming with a cap and trade program that includes 100% auction. And what does that mean? A cap and trade program means you cap greenhouse gases by creating pollution permits. You have to hand out permits to polluters, say you can only pollute this much, and then you have less and less permits over time to ensure we hit the targets that would avert a climate crisis, and you companies can trade those permits with each other. So if you do a better job with it, you then can make some money by selling your permits to a worse polluter. The big question there is, do you sell those permits or do you give them away? If you sell them all, you create a greater disincentive to pollute. You put a price on polluting our atmosphere. You raise money that can go into renewable energy or to mitigate any short-term price increases. And both Clinton and Obama support 100% auction, which is different than the plan that's being bandied about in the Senate right now, which only would auction off a small portion of those permits initially. And they're both similar there. Trade, they're very similar. They both have voted against the Central American Free Trade Agreement. They both are supporting an expansion of NAFTA to include Peru. So it's some might say they're both not perfect on that issue. And there is the lobbyist question, where Clinton has been very open in supporting raising money from lobbyists and allowing lobbyists to work in her White House. In a debate in August, she had said, a lot of those lobbyists, whether you like it or not, represent real Americans. They actually do. They represent nurses. They represent, social workers. They represent corporations. They employ a lot of people. The idea that somehow a contribution is going to influence you, I just ask you to look at my record. I've been fighting for the same thing. My core values have not changed, so on and so forth. In a recent South Carolina debate, she was asked by John Edwards if she would have lobbyists working in her White House, and she essentially said, I will make a commitment to have people in the White House who are honest and trustworthy and put the interests of the United States first. Edwards said, is that a no? She said, you know what? I don't know. Obama has been clearer, I would say, saying he's not going to have registered federal lobbyists work in his White House, and he's not going to take money from lobbyists directly. So that is the nut of it. One other point I would make that I think they both get points on is they both have been explicit about embracing an activist role of government. Hillary Clinton has said we have systematically diminished the role and responsibility of our government and watch our market become imbalanced. Obama, in that now infamous interview in Nevada where he talked about the transformation of Ronald Reagan, talked about how government should be an agent of change, and he wants to restore luster to the federal government and, quote, I want to make government cool again. That is critical. It's a key distinction between them and the eventual Republican nominee. So that I hope that is a helpful lay of the land of the issues. We're going to talk in just a little bit with Cliff Schechter, blogger at Brave New Films, get his take on what's going to happen on Super Tuesday. This is Bill Scher for the Liberal Oasis radio show. Back in just a bit.